It's a busy week in Las Vegas, and we're fresh off a Fight Pass Invitational, but we're still here to put in more extra rounds. Hey, everybody, I'm TJ DeSantis, along with the man who knows, BMAC, Brandon Mccaghren. How you doing after one of the most dramatic sort of walk-off victories we've seen in FPI history?
I'm feeling pretty good about it. I feel like that was a great card. I feel like it was exactly what the UFC was looking for to help push forward this jiu-jitsu in the UFC narrative. I thought it was a huge win all the way around.
No, absolutely. If you don't know what we're talking about, Nicky Rod, submitted by Victor Hugo in the main event. It's all available for you right now on UFC Fight Pass. The FPI 10 lived up to all the hype. I kind of need to ask you a question, this or that. You got to pick one. Which submission was more impressive? You know, Helena Cravar's calf slicer rear naked choke combo, or the Brianna St. Marie Von Flu choke, I guess we're calling it.
I'm going to say that Brianna St. Marie's win was more impressive because she had to beat Elizabeth Clay to do it.
Right,
So
yeah.
not only did she do something that's really unusual, you don't see it a lot at the high level, especially in straight jiu-jitsu, especially in pure
Yeah.
jiu-jitsu. But she had to do it, that unusual submission to somebody who's at the very top of the talent pool. With Helena's submission, although it was, I would say, it's more aesthetically pleasing. It was cooler. It was more fun to watch. Everybody expected her to win that match.
Right.
So,
Minus 2,000 favorite.
yeah,
But style points were aplenty. And I hate to say this because it undersells it, but like she's more than just a factor in women's jiu-jitsu. She might be might not be the next big thing, might be the biggest thing that is just on her way up the ladder right now.
yeah. I mean, she's just phenomenal.
Yeah.
She doesn't really make a lot of mistakes. She always funnels you directly into her game. I think she's going to be. I mean, not only do I think she's going to be sort of what you said, she is a problem right now for the best women in the world.
Yeah, and what can you say about everybody's favorite grappler? Hinata Canudo doing it in front of everybody, rematching against Oliver Taza, now moves to 2-0 against Taza. And it was a tactical match. It was one that we saw Canudo not necessarily, stick to the whole I'm only going to win by highlight reel, Sports Center top 10 types of submissions. He played a game that was maybe a bit unexpected, if you will.
And I think that I totally agree with you. I think it was absolutely needed in order to win that matchup against Taza. And, it wasn't going to be something where he was going to come out and just find something flying. And I actually thought coming into the match that could be a disadvantage for Hanato. But he showed that he's got a lot of deep game in his bag. And he pulled out the fundamental strategic parts of his game and dominated with that game against a guy who's not easy to dominate. So I thought it was just an incredible showing for Hanato. I thought he showed a lot of. I think he showed everybody that he can win in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, I'm curious if I should be excited or kind of maybe let down that in the post-fight interview he gets on the mic with you, says he's going to make the transition to MMA. Going to do it in his hometown here with the Tough Enough promotion, which is historically one of the most deep, traditional ways to kind of come up in the game. Tough Enough's been around for like 20 years. Canudo doing MMA, it's going to take him away from the jiu-jitsu mat, but if he can implement his jiu-jitsu game on the MMA stage, BMAC, there's a whole lot of legs that are in trouble.
And he could. I mean, he's of the caliber of jiu-jitsu fighter that when he rolls into MMA, these guys they're never going to have been on the mat with somebody of his caliber ever. And so he's going to be able to do things in MMA, especially in his first couple of fights, 3, 4, 5 fights maybe, that people are just they've never felt it before.
Do the gloves change his submission offense, though? Because we've seen high-level grapplers talk about how it's more difficult to grab the neck for rear naked chokes and things like that when you have gloves on. Does that change his submission output?
Yeah, it definitely can, especially if you're in a situation where there's a tight space. That's the real problem with the gloves is you're used to being able to slide your hand into this tight space, and then
Right.
when that glove gets thick, it doesn't slide into that spot anymore, and so you have to find other ways to open him up or crack him and pop his head up, slip your forearm under. So yes, especially for the rear naked choke, I think it does limit. Things like figure fours that you make with your arms are way more limited because you have to clamp down on that big padding if you're just on the hand, so you have to learn to adjust and get wrist deep on a lot of your figure four grips. For heel hooks, it doesn't make as much difference, actually, I think, for leg locks. But there are situations where sometimes you need to slip in. It does make it easier for the defensive guy to come up and fight you at the hands. So a little bit different with the leg lock game, but less so than with the rear naked choke or, say, a Darce.
Fair enough. We'll see what happens. Renato Canudo, must-see TV, whether it's on the jiu-jitsu stage or doing MMA. Can't wait to see what is next for him. Want to give a shout-out to Nathan Haddad and Achilles Rocha as well. Achilles gets a win, judge's decision. You don't see many of those on the FPI stage. Usually the points sorted out, but that was a fun match to kick off our Fight Pass exclusive broadcast.
I thought that was a great match. I tried to call it ahead of time, like with Dana's "If you don't know, now you know."
Yeah,
that was my pick for that.
Yeah, you are the man who knows, by the way. So, I mean, if anybody's gonna know,
and I did know. I happen to know.
Yeah.
There's a lot of chatter online that was the wrong decision, but I think there's a good argument either way. Like, if it just depends on how those first 2 points were scored for Nathan Haddad.
Right.
Because there was some controversy over whether or not that should have been scored 2 for him.
Yeah.
And I think it's a valid question, and I don't know if he should have got those 2 points. If I'm looking back at it, I don't award him those 2 points probably. But they did award him the 2 points.
Right.
And so if he had the 2, and then Achilles got the 2, and it went to a decision, I think that was a controversial decision. But it's only controversial because Nathan got some points that I don't think he should have gotten. Yeah. So I'm kind of torn on it. I think, it's just so close.
I'm also of the mind that you kind of almost got to implement the old Pride scoring system into play if you're just making a decision, because Haddad was the aggressor much later in the fight. I thought he was aggressive throughout, but I thought the momentum was on his side when the bout actually ended.
Yeah, I agree with that. Both guys were aggressive the whole fight, but I felt like Achilles was getting outworked and outpositioned especially in the overtime period.
Well, I mean, the only answer is do it again. Do it again. Let's see it again.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Come on. You're the man who knows. You're not the man who agrees, though. Come on, be more agreeable.
I don't like especially not an immediate rematch. I never like
No, we don't have to have an immediate rematch. This isn't for a title eliminator. It's not like holding up a division, but let's just see it again. I want to see it down the road.
Maybe in a couple of years.
All right. Who knows? I don't know if I want to give Achilles Rocha more time to grow, though. A couple of years it might be even harder.
If you're Nathan Haddad, you need to get it done right now.
Absolutely. All right. Let's turn our attention to UFC 313. It goes down tomorrow. T-Mobile Arena. You got a light heavyweight title on the line in the main event. Alex Poatan Pereira. He's taking on Magomed Ankalaev. Looking at the odds right now, BMAC, courtesy of our friends over at DraftKings, and I'm surprised they're as close as they are. You can get Ankalaev at minus 102 right now. Pereira is minus 118. I just don't see it being that close of a fight.
That's mind-boggling to me. I know the odds are made on how the money's rolling in.
Right. It's reflective of who's betting what.
So I don't know. That's not a super good gauge of, from a technical analyst breakdown.
Sure.
It's not a super good gauge of who's actually going to win the fight. But it's a perfect gauge of where the money's going. Yeah. But I don't think you can't put money on Ankalaev.
Well, this is the best time to put money on Pereira, though. I mean, you're going to make the most amount of money. If you think this is a blowout for the Brazilian, minus 118 to make $100 is easy money. It's printing money if you believe it's going to go the way of the reigning defending light heavyweight king.
And I challenge you to give me a good explanation of how Ankalaev is about to win this fight. I do not I feel like this is Poatan's easiest match he's had in his entire run, since he got up around the top. This is crazy. I do not understand how we think Ankalaev has a chance. I do not think he does.
I'll tell you what it is. I'm not buying it, B-Mac. I'll tell you what it is, though. It's the wrestling. People believe that Ankalaev is going to be able to get takedowns going to be able to put Poatan in tough situations, hold him there, and either catch a submission or pound his way to a decision or a stoppage?
I don't think so. I think when you look at Ankalaev's actual wrestling, not just the lore of him being a Russian fighter, like, when you actually look at what he does in his fights, he's not a dominant wrestler.
Yeah. One thing that he might have going for him that Yuri Prochazka didn't have was the sort of mental fortitude. It seems like Ankalaev is not sort of taken aback by standing in front of Poatan. He seems like he's not intimidated. I think Prochazka, I mean, he was talking about spirits and magic and all sorts of stuff when they met the second time. Ankalaev, mentally, he's going to be there, but I think mentally he's going to get shut off when Poatan hits that button. I
mean, give me a third-round KO for Pereira if it takes him that long.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm not trying to ruin the profit margins for the sports books out there. Maybe I am. But I will say, like, I just think this is easy money. Do what you want with your own money. But there's never been a better time to put stock in your belief in the Brazilian, who is truly racking up one of the greatest resumes in UFC history. I might eat my words. Come Sunday morning, we might have Uncle. I agree. But, Poatan does whatever he wants. Is it something he's got to, survive a storm or establish that he can stay away from taking? Does Ankalaev even shoot?
I think he'll have to fight off some shots towards the end of the first round, but I don't think it's going to be that difficult for him, especially that early in the fight. I think he's going to be fresh and ready to go. I think that his grappling and his takedown defense is better than people give him credit for. And for Ankalaev to get in range, to grapple him at all, is a dangerous game. I just don't see him surviving that range and that exchange.
Bruce Buffer put it out there that he has extended some special introductions for certain athletes over the years. He did the 360 for Brock Lesnar at UFC 100. He called Conor McGregor the one and only. He's considering offering the same sort of treatment to Alex Pereira. Does he deserve that? Has he done enough? I mean, I think he has. He's still very much in the middle of his career, so I think Buffer's hesitancy to give him that one and only treatment comes just in the sense that maybe he slips on a banana peel. But are we looking at one of the greatest fighters in their prime in their run in Poatan?
Yes, we are.
So you give him the one and only treatment?
Yeah, I mean, who would you rather watch in MMA right now?
Prime John Jones. That's it.
No. Right now.
Alex Pereira.
He's not. Yeah.
Yeah, there's nobody better.
I want to see John Jones fight, but that's not prime John Jones.
No, that's true.
Let's don't pretend that John Jones is still in his prime. Let's also don't pretend that he's not the man. He might still be the man.
Yeah.
But he's 38 years old. We have to be honest about that as well.
Let's be critical though of Poatan for a little bit, because we're definitely kind of showing our hands here, which hard not to. But
this was great. I'm not on the commentary team for the actual UFC.
Right. Is there a massive deficiency,
however I want.
Is there a massive deficiency, though, if Poatan gets taken down, scrambles up, gives his back? Like, is there an easy path for Ankalaev in any way, shape, or form if everything goes perfectly?
No. How good do you think that somebody needs to be at the MMA portion of grappling to get a black belt from Glover Teixeira? You think Glover Teixeira's passing them out?
No. I bet they're pretty hard to come by.
Yeah. You think he's just giving them away?
No.
Or do you think maybe he's a little tougher on his guys because they're going to be representing his name on the highest stage?
You bring up a phenomenal point. Glover Teixeira has a legacy, one that he's not going to jeopardize by handing out a seal of approval like that without earning it.
I mean, I think that's all you need to know.
Fair enough. Your main
Glover's
event.
one of the best grapplers in the history of that division.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. But we'll see. It's the main event of UFC 313. Goes down tomorrow night. T-Mobile Arena. Hopefully you are locked in. That's not the best fight on the card, in my opinion.
It's the
co-main. Justin Gaethje, he runs it back with Rafael Fiziev. Their first fight was absolutely phenomenal. It seemed like it was a matter of time until we would get this rematch. I didn't necessarily expect it to be now. We were going to get Dan Hooker involved in this co-main. Hooker obviously broke his hand, so now we get Fiziev. And, you know, I talked about you with this topic earlier in the week. I said that the Fiziev fight, in a lot of ways, is a better fight than the Dan Hooker fight. I think there's more title implications there. I think the narrative and just the overall entertainment value gets raised up a little bit. We know exactly what we're going to get in this fight, and that's violence. We expected a violent fight with Dan Hooker, but I firmly believe, B-Mac, that we are going to get an absolute war, and I'm here for it.
I mean, in my opinion, this is a way, way better fight. I'm totally with you. I feel like the Hooker fight was just fan service.
Sure.
You know, it was only fan service. Like,
which is good. And Dana White's good at giving people what they want.
I wasn't mad at that fight. I was
right.
excited about that fight. But it was only fan service. This matchup is way more than just fan service. Like you said, this has implications on the division.
Yeah.
You know, like nobody's under the illusion that maybe Dan Hooker is going to get himself back into the title mix. I don't think anybody's thinking that, right?
Yeah.
But with Fiziev, there's still a lot of meat left on the bone in his career, I think.
He's going to be better, I think, than the version that showed up against Gaethje the first time.
And most importantly, I think there's still a lot of story left to write in the career of Fiziev. Like, he could still go up and down from where he's at right now.
Yeah,
you know,
we could be in his early win where Fiziev stock drops.
He could be in his early Charles Oliveira stages.
That's crazy to think. Because, I mean, I embarrassingly wrote Charles Oliveira off as not going to be a world champion. And from that point in his career, he's only cemented his status as one of the greatest lightweights of all time.
There we go. And maybe that could be Fiziev. Even if it's not, I love to watch this dude fight. He's so fast.
Oh, yeah.
He's so fast.
I mean, this is the main event. It really is.
Yeah, let's be real, the main event is Poetan's walkout in T-Mobile Arena. That's the main event. That's the thing I'm most excited about, even above any of the matches. But as far as actual fights go, it's Gaethje Fiziev for me. And I think I like Fiziev to win this.
Really? Okay, so I was actually going to post the hypothetical to you of if you were the odds maker, where do you put the line? So you're going Fiziev the favorite.
I think so, man. I think I like Fiziev. And it's not it's still sort of a pick'em fight for me, especially based on what their last fight looked like. I thought Gaethje looked stronger down the stretch in their last fight. That was the problem that Fiziev ran into.
And they got 5 rounds. That should be noted here. This is a 5-round.
That's a great point. That's a great point. So does Gaethje extend that advantage over 5 rounds, or does Fiziev prove that he's a 5-round kind of guy? He almost didn't look like a 3-round kind of guy. He was there for the whole 3 rounds.
Right.
He fought very hard and very well for all 3 rounds.
Yeah.
But Gaethje got stronger as the fight went.
So let's talk about Justin Gaethje for a brief moment. Obviously, he's coming off the Max Holloway loss in a fight where the narrative, I think, kind of gets lost in the sense that Gaethje was put out in the final second of the fight. He really wasn't in that fight throughout. He had his nose broken badly in the first round, really wasn't firing on all cylinders, and then suffered a pretty brutal knockout. If you're a Gaethje supporter, you can say, look, he was dealing with a broken nose and then just did what he does best and had his warrior spirit, and, you know, he got clipped by Max in the final moment to be put out. But with that in mind, is Gaethje going to come into this fight and be as aggressive, be willing to stand into the pocket? I think he only has one gear, and that's forward. But you always got to wonder what a fighter does in response to getting stopped in the way that he did.
And he's talked about it a lot, too. You know, and I've heard him say in a couple of interviews now that he wants to go back to his style of recklessness. Like, he feels like that was, like, he kind of lost some of his fighting spirit. I mean, these are the kind of things that are on his mind right now. So,
do you think that's because he's nearing the end of his career, like the legacy standard?
I don't know. I also don't know that he's nearing the end of his career. He
I
may
mean,
be
he's just
nearing
long
the
in the
end of
tooth,
his.
BMAC. I
He
would
may be nearing
assume
the end of his title run, but
that's
I
a great
think
point.
we could see several more years of good quality mixed martial arts out of Justin
And
Gaethje.
you
I
will.
don't necessarily think he's on the way out.
I mean, that guy's not going to go away. You're going to have to tie him up to not let him take a fight.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe he'll get smart between now and then, though.
Well, for entertainment's purposes, I hope not. So what would your line be? What would you put Fiziev at minus money if he's a favorite?
140.
You're in the ballpark. Minus 155 from our friends over at DraftKings Sportsbook. The comeback on Gaethje as the underdog is plus 130. So, you know, I think you're right. I think Gaethje is a slight underdog here, and we'll see what happens over the course of 5 rounds.
That, to me, that's the real story. It's that how does Fiziev react to Gaethje continuing to be there at full clip in rounds 3 and 4 especially? And then round 5, Gaethje's still going to be strong in round 5. Is Fiziev going to be strong in 4 and 5? That's what we don't know yet, and to me that's where the match is going to be settled.
So are we going to get to those? I mean, it's not a championship, but are we going to get to those championship main event 4th and 5th rounds?
I mean, I don't see how they got to the 3rd round the way they were slinging last time.
Yeah.
So I'm inclined to say no, but I do want to see a long fight with these two guys. I do want to see let's go 4 rounds.
All right.
I'd like to see at least 4 rounds out of these boys. I love this match.
We should mention you and I are going to be in the building on Saturday night, sitting next to the Hall of Famer, former lightweight champion Jens Pulver, doing the watch along on all the Fight Pass Facebook, YouTube, on Fight Pass proper as well. So you're excited for that. You get all giddy when you're around Jens Pulver.
Dude, how cool is that?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty rad. You know, the first fight I ever saw live, Jens Pulver was in the main event on a volleyball court in Fridley, Minnesota.
TJ, I'd love to hear more. Housekeeping is literally knocking on my door right now. They're about to bust in here. Should we just let them come on in and say hi?
Let them come in.
Come in.
Make them do a cameo.
Hello. Yes, come on in.
Oh, they're just going to go ahead and just turn down the bed or whatever.
Yeah, I'm just going to let them do their thing.
See, that's the difference between you and me. When I have housekeeping come in,
yeah, sure, come on.
They just turn around. They just leave real quick when they come in and see me.
Well, that makes a lot of sense, actually.
Yeah, of course.
If I went to your room knowing that I was going to see you and you opened the door and were standing there, I would turn around and leave.
Like, sorry, wrong room.
Yeah, this is not what I signed up for.
All right. Well, what you can sign up for right now is DraftKings Sportsbook. DraftKings is the official sportsbook of the UFC. And right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets when you place your first $5 bet. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now and use code FIGHTPASS when you sign up to claim your $150 in bonus bets instantly. The crown is yours. B-Mac, you can be wearing their shades Saturday night inside T-Mobile?
I think so, TJ.
Of course you will. See what I did there?
It was good.
Thank you. He's B-Mac, the man who knows. I'm TJ DeSantis. We'll see you Saturday for the watch-along live from Las Vegas.